Are we? Did you go us? Are we live? Oh shit! Let me share. You know what? Can't read.
Everybody gets one, Devon. Everybody gets one. All right. Let's you guys ready to go?
I'm so ready.
All right. Ryan?
I'm here.
All right. Hey everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And today, Devon's making us watch the first entry into the what is the X trilogy?
Pearl trilogy? I don't know.
Pearl trilogy?
Into the
Goff?
Mia Goff trilogy. That's
Okay.
it.
Into the Mia Goff trilogy. Okay. We're watching 2022's X, starring Mia Goff, Brittany Snow, and Jenna Ortega. Before we get into that, we like to make each other talk about each week on You Have to Watch This podcast. We make each other watch movies one of us has never seen before. Today, I'd never seen X. Ryan, had you seen X?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
All right, cool. But before we get into that, we like to talk about things we've been watching in pop culture over the last week or so. We have a few things to talk about. I know. You guys know what Saturday was? Are you aware of what holiday Saturday was?
Saturday?
Yes.
The 21st of September?
Yes.
Star Trek Day?
No.
10 days after September 11th?
Ooh, too soon.
Oh, no.
Well, one, it's the Earth, Wind, and Fire song. You don't
Oh,
remember
yeah.
the 21st night of September?
I see what you did there.
But it was also Batman Day. So to celebrate Batman Day, Warner Brothers re-released a few films into cinemas again. So I got to see I forgot I pulled Agatha first. I got to see Michael Keaton's Batman with Tim Burton's Batman with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson on the big screen. I want you guys to guess how many people were in the theater.
For this one?
Yes, for this one.
I'm going to guess 10. Oh, Brian, we're on the money today.
2. I was half of the audience. But like, it was like the one time I was like almost like, hey, we should be like, I should go make friends with this person. They're a cool person for showing up to see Batman in the afternoon. Yeah. I did not. This guy left his like leather vest because he rode it on a motor tricycle, and then I made a joke about him leaving it when he came back for it because I stayed for the next screening. It's like I just thought you were staying with me for the next one, and he just didn't acknowledge me at all. I was like, okay, never mind, we can't be friends.
Oh no, I'm sad for you,
yeah,
Alan.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay because you know why? You know why it's okay, Devon?
What?
I got to see my favorite Batman movie on the big screen for the first time since 1995. Because I don't even think I saw it in 1995. But I got to see Batman Forever on the big screen.
And how was it?
That's cool.
I chills. Like, as soon as the music came on and the names started flying across the screen, I was like, oh man, this is amazing. Like, and then I rode that the whole movie.
Oh.
The movie makes no sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all that it's called Batman Forever. The subplot about the book makes no sense in the theatrical cut. I want to see the Schumacher cut so badly. But
remember the time you almost had it? You were so close.
Don't remind me. I sent a pic
about that.
I think about that too, and I'm still upset about it. So next time I see Kevin Smith, I'm going to be like, hey, this is what happened.
He will sympathize. Of anyone, he will sympathize.
Yeah. But yeah, really cool to see on the big screen. Devon, I did something and I think you're going to be very proud of me. I'm disappointed in myself, but I think you're going to be proud of me. You know what I did?
What'd you do?
I left before Christopher Rose.
Oh, I am very proud of you.
Yeah.
Good. You didn't subject your ears to literal torture.
No, I did not.
Good.
But yeah,
Musically, that's a really good song.
I don't get it, Ryan. I just don't get it. The lyrics don't
You
make
don't get
sense.
it because you don't get it because the lyrics don't make sense. But literally everything else about the song is great for a top 40 song.
It's probably true. This is like the one opinion that I have a couple of bad opinions. This is like the one bad opinion that no one ever thinks is fun though. Like I've said this to a group of people that the prompt was tell us your hot take on something that people don't agree with you with. And generally people are like, I hate dogs, and like the audience laughed. And I was like, I don't like Kiss from a Rose, and got booed off the stage. It wasn't even a joke at that point. Like people just get mad at me for this.
I mean,
Because
at this point, it's just a joke to me. So, all right, Devin, you had a busy weekend being Disney adult Devin.
I did. I went to Disney, guys. Although Alan called me out on it. People would ask where I'd go, and I'd go Paris. And then Alan went, no, Devin, you're in Disneyland Paris.
Yeah.
So I was there.
Here I thought you were eating like croissants and like wearing berets, but no, you're wearing Mickey ears and eating Dole Whips.
To be fair, I had a croissant while I was there. So but
Was it shaped?
incredible.
What was it shaped like Mickey Mouse?
It wasn't. No, it was like
It's
just a
goofy.
croissant shape. Yeah. It was
Gosh.
incredible. Disneyland Paris is so much fun. It was my first time seeing the Avengers campus, which was really cool. They have a Spider-Man ride where you get to do this with your hand and web comes out and you get to do shoot things with it. We rode that 4 times in our trip there. And it wasn't even like we intended to. Like we came into that ride going, this is going to be really dumb. We're not going to like this at all. Why would they make this ride? And then afterwards we're like, do you want to do that again? We should do that again. And then they even have payable upgrades that you can buy and attach to your arm before the ride. So instead of shooting webs, you can shoot portals like Doctor Strange, or you could shoot like repulsor orbs like Iron Man. And we legitimately almost bought a couple of them. We didn't, but we had them in our hand and went, can we afford this?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good ride. No, it was a really fun time.
What's the next level? They just give you a pistol and make you look like you're the Punisher? Like
Yeah, that's it. Or my favorite Punisher, they give you a popsicle and they pretend you're the Punisher.
Mhm.
It's the best scene from that movie.
I don't know what scene you're talking about. I haven't seen any of the Punisher movies.
What?
Yeah.
Ryan, have you seen the Punisher movies?
I'm putting that down on my list to have you guys watch right now.
Yes, you have to. So I've only seen the older one just called The Punisher. There's another one that came out that I didn't see.
Warzone.
So
yeah.
Yeah, Warzone I didn't see, but I did see the one called The Punisher. I loved that movie.
The older one, right?
Yeah, the old one I saw.
Yeah.
Warzone I haven't.
Okay.
Good.
Speaking of Disney, Devin, have you watched anything recently?
Yeah, and I want you both to be very proud of me. Well, maybe not as much Ryan, because I think he's as marveled out as I am, despite having Spider-Man ride. I watched Agatha All Along. I didn't expect to watch this, but it got so much hype over the 2-day period between when it released and when I eventually broke down and watched it. So look, like I don't watch it now. It doesn't be that good. And you know what? It was that good.
Yeah. Catherine Hahn is I watched this too. Catherine Hahn, give her her own show.
She's so good.
It makes sense. She was one of the best parts of WandaVision, and WandaVision was very solid all around. But
Yeah.
it makes sense that she would get a spinoff, and the way they handle it as a WandaVision spinoff in the first episode is perfect. I would watch a whole show of that. But I'm glad they didn't do that the whole time because it would have been jarring. But I still have questions because I still don't understand entirely. Was that how she was just living, or is it just a spell and hallucination? I still have questions. I don't understand it completely. But all that to say, I really enjoy the show. They're doing some interesting things with avoiding spoilers for people. Just having one character tell his whole backstory, but then his audio just going mute and no one in the show or in the audience can hear it.
Yeah.
So just like fueling the fire for conspiracy theories, like who is this character? Who like is he who we think he is? Is he somebody else? Like,
That's what WandaVision did so well.
yeah,
Like, that's why it was so, I think why it was so fun. Because, like, when you had Captain America and Winter Soldier, like, there was no, like, real question. You're just like, what hijinks are they going to get up to now? And, like, fine.
the question on that show is that Kurt Russell's son? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to see where it goes. It's like a Halloween esque show, so it makes sense to come out this time of year. Yeah.
Ryan, can we convince you to watch this? Or are you still too marveled out?
I might check it out.
Yeah.
WandaVision was cool, but that was like at the like not the very beginning, but that was at like the like getting into the cruise of me just like not caring about Marvel for a while. And I did watch it though. Um and part I just wish it wouldn't take so long for these things to come out. Because like I
You
haven't
gotta,
thought about WandaVision or this character in a long time. And I didn't even realize that it was out until like maybe yesterday. I saw a meme
oh,
about
sure.
like someone complaining about somebody said something. But yeah, like I had no idea that this thing was even like a thing until yesterday.
3 years, like I don't know if it's that it takes so long for it to take. I think it's that there's so much in between this and WandaVision.
A lot of Marvel.
A lot of Marvel. But 3 years is usually the sweet spot for good sequels. Like it gives you enough time to develop the story, learn from the first one. You're not developing it too early on in post of the first one.
Okay, so I think my main problem is that I am stuck in the mindset of TV shows come out once a year.
Oh, yeah.
Movies come out every few years. And now we've reached this hybrid section where we have 10-hour-long movies coming out as TV shows once every once every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And my I'm just I have not been good at getting used to that time frame jump for
Yeah.
this type of entertainment.
Yeah.
I think that's what my key problem is with it. And like yeah, I mean maybe I don't know. Maybe I'd be better off if if like all of all of this stuff was just categorized as special. Like
That's not wrong.
WandaVision
I mean, it
special
kind of
or
is.
something like that.
Yeah. It's a good way to think about it, though, actually, is that they're all just, like, special.
And they're getting away from
Yeah.
the TV shows now too, which I think will
Yeah.
help. Because like the only TV show that I can justify as a TV show is WandaVision. Everything else could have been a movie.
Even Loki? I hear that Loki's kind of a special little boy. I haven't caught up on season 2 yet, but
Loki, like there are shows that are done well, but I think they could have, like that one's a good example of it having to be a show.
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier could have been a movie. Moon Knight could
That
have been a
could've been a
movie.
movie.
Ms. Marvel should have been a movie. What if doesn't count?
Secret War?
Secret Invasion should not have
That one.
existed. They're just completely ignoring that. Like they got Amelia
Are
Clark
they?
in that and wasted her. Like,
What a shame.
yeah, poor Khaleesi.
Aw.
But the what's funny is we were talking about Marvel and DC before the show. Like I've got the figure for the Penguin, but I haven't watched the show yet.
I know the weirdest, stupidest thing about this show. Somebody told me that Colin Farrell, who's playing the Penguin, has an anatomically correct penis prosthetic that he's using for the show.
Yeah, the full bodysuit has everything.
Why?
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 I can make it worse for you.
Okay,
It has a beak.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I hate it.
I can make it even worse for you. Do you know what the character's name is in that universe?
It's not Oswald Cobblepot.
It's not Oswald Cobblepot.
What is it?
Oz Cobb.
Ew.
Because realism.
Yeah, who? Never mind. I was gonna get too far. At some point, okay, I have to say it now. At some point, somebody was like, "We're making this bodysuit for the Penguin. How much is the Penguin pack in?" Like, that conversation had to happen. They're like, 7 inches, 8 inches.
I'm just waiting for the.
Having this conversation.
I can't wait for the behind the scenes documentary just narrated by Morgan Freeman, the Penguin. Yeah.
I love it.
I don't know.
Ryan, welcome to my mind. This is what happens.
Inside internal voice and outside internal voice, Devon. You got to learn which is which.
No, there's none. There's none.
All right, let's get into today's main topic. Speaking of penises, let's talk about X.
That was a good transition.
Yeah, Devin, this is your pick for the week. Go ahead and take it away.
All right, so today we're talking about 2022's X, directed by Ty West, starring Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, who I was surprised to see in this when I first saw it, Brittany Snow, and I want to specially point out specifically Stephen Uri, who plays somebody that we'll all obviously know, Gorbag the Orc from Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. My favorite reference in this movie. The movie essentially follows a porn film crew about to go make a porn on a farm, and murderous things happen. I saw this movie a couple months ago. I really like it more than I thought I was going to. Mostly because I think it's a really good kind of like throwback to like 70s style slasher movies. It has a lot of the tropes you would expect in it, and I think it does a lot of them very, very well. And it sets up an interesting, I think, villain that I didn't expect, to be fair. So before we dig into all of it, I want to know, did you guys even know about this movie before I brought it up?
I knew about it. I had heard about this movie that was getting a sequel later in the year because they released Pearl, which was like a prequel a few months after this. But I didn't know anything about it. Like I think it came out like the same weekend as like Horrific Hope or something, and it was like the buzz.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it. I'm not a big horror guy, so it wasn't really up my alley. It takes you guys to make me watch a horror movie for me to watch a horror movie. So,
Ryan, did you know much about this movie before you went into it?
Yeah, Kristen watches a lot more horror than I do. I think I've talked about it before. How like she just like, oh, here's a horror movie I haven't seen. Play. Like she doesn't even like, she just hits play, and then if it doesn't interest her, she stops watching. If it does, she watches to completion. And I think she might watch like 3 or 4 horror movies a weekend. So, so this was one of those that she watched and that she surprisingly liked. And when I told her that like we were doing, she was like, you might enjoy that one. I'm not sure though, but you might. And, but I already knew some of the plot points from like her asking me like I think a year ago when she first saw it, and she was explaining some of it to me, and I'm like, well, I might watch it at some point, so don't tell me too much. And yeah, so I mean, like I knew about it, I knew parts of it, I knew what the premise of it was. So it was really just watching to see like what kind of horror movie it was going to be. And I was actually very happy that they just kind of set the style of horror movie in the same era that it was being shot in.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah, agreed. So Alan, not being too big of a fan of horror movies, what did you think of X?
I think it's a good throwback to like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A24 does a good job of like picking niche things and letting the artists create their stories in that style, and this is definitely an example of that. And an interesting first entry into a trilogy. I think if it's setting out to do 70s horror, it does 70s horror very well. It does 70s other stuff probably pretty well. Don't know much more about that from experience, but I've seen a few 70s horror movies, so I can at least speak on that. So
I'll have to tell you guys where the trilogy goes. I won't spoilers for it, but I think it's really interesting.
I almost messaged you.
Yeah.
Because I saw at least the next one and maybe the third one were on Paramount Plus, and I almost messaged you to be like, so are you going to make us watch all three of these, or should I just keep watching? Because I almost just kept watching. Because those two were free to stream. I had to pay for this one.
Same.
Yeah.
I was in the same boat. Ryan, did you pay for this one too?
Unfortunately, yes. Well, I mean, not unfortunately. Not unfortunately. I was trying to be like a little cynic there for a minute, but I have to retract that.
Well, because it brings me to a question. What did you think of it? I know that this had the, maybe you might like it filter on it. What did you think?
I mean, I enjoyed it. It was definitely an interesting concept. Like it's like what was that movie that it was a comedy made like 18 years ago where like somebody and someone makes a porno. I forget the name of the title.
Zach and Miri make a porno.
Zach, yeah, it was like, it's like that's one thing that I was thinking of, like, oh, it's like that, but it's a horror instead of it being a comedy. I definitely liked the ruralness that they put in it. Like you've got these like city people going into like a rural area, and just the like total juxtaposition between like the culture of like rural America versus like people on the complete opposite end of the scale. And just seeing that clash. Not that that had anything to do with the violence, to be honest. But it was good. I enjoyed it. There's a few things that I know that were done stylistically that I want to kind of bring up because I'm not particularly a fan of it. But we'll get there at some point.
Interesting. All right. So, I mean, I didn't know anything about this movie going into it. I knew that it was something Romana was curious about, and she just said, I want to watch this movie, and then we did. And she doesn't usually kind of bring up movies to watch. It's usually me. So I was like, well, just on principle, let's watch this. And I think I was surprised going into it what it was about in general. So in kind of the pacing of the movie. So the movie actually starts as kind of a relatively slow burn. A lot of the movie happens without much blood, guts, gore, or even kind of knowing who the killer is. With the exception of, like, knowing that in the end of it, people die because you get that 24 hours earlier flashback. Did you guys appreciate the slow build when the horror came? Like, was that part effective for you guys? Or would you have liked to see kind of action right away for it?
The slow burn worked for me. Like, I don't need, like, I'm not a big horror guy, so like the slower we get into it, the better for me. Like if it's just like blood and guts the whole time through, it's like meh, boring. But if you build tension and get there slowly, it's better for me.
Yeah. Ryan, does that seem for you?
If I didn't know that the third addition to this trilogy was named Maxine, and I didn't know off the bat who was going to survive, it definitely would have done more for me. But because like I'm watching the movie and they introduce the character and I'm like, oh, that's that person from the movie I'm seeing trailers for recently. And I was like, okay, everyone else is dead. I guess I'll get to know them somewhat. And so I more or less liked just the world building of it being the late 70s.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what I liked more than anything, was just seeing, like, how accurate they could get with it being placed in 1979.
So you did what I did, and you were like, "That's our final girl," from like the second the movie started. Did you have that too, Ryan Allen?
I mean, that's just the trope. Like the way they
Yeah.
introduce, like that's just. It's hard to do a horror movie where you're going to have a final girl and not be able to tell who the final girl is going to be. I think the only one that really throws you off is Scream, because they advertise that with Drew Barrymore's face, and then guess what? She's dead in the first 5 minutes, and now she has a talk show.
Right.
Um, it. So yeah, like it's kind of like it's one of those tropes that's kind of easy to tell. Like you know who's going to be the last girl.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. And to be fair, and I don't know if you guys had this, I think because of the poster that I saw for it, and because of so the poster of it is Mia Goth's character Maxine standing with an axe, kind of behind a red X. I thought she was the killer. Like the first second, I'm like, that's the killer of the movie. Did you guys have that?
So what I knew about these movies is that all three starred her.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't realize that she plays the same character in this one and the third one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were just a series of loosely interconnected stories.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I did like it does make it look like she's the murderer in the poster, but it's also it's not entirely wrong that she's the murderer because
it's fair. Ryan, did you expect her to be the murderer, or were you like shot one, scene one, final girl, we're good?
Oh, I knew who the murderer was going to be because of the extended conversation that Kristen and I had when I told her that we were doing this movie. She brought up, because like she asked, she was like, well, you know that's the first of three movies. I mean, like the first of three. And I was like, oh, and then she goes in explaining Pearl, like the second movie.
Oh,
so
wow, okay.
I knew going into this that like it was going to be it was going to be the old woman.
Sure.
So I was looking for, okay, where does the old woman get introduced? How creepy is she off the bat? So like I was looking at this movie more as kind of like the like how's the setup, because I already kind of knew who the killer was going to be. And I was more looking forward to being like, okay, so what is the main character going to be going through in this movie to get her to be who she is in Maxine?
Right.
In the third movie, and in the obviously because of the previews of that, you get an idea about her character and like where she's at.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was like, okay, so what's the journey here to get her to who she's going to eventually get turned into? So I mean, I already know who I already knew who it was going to end up being, but even knowing all of that, it was still a good setup. It was still a quality setup, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So one of the things I like about horror movies, especially ones that are kind of a slow burn like this, is how well they set up tension. Because I love those scenes where like, the stereotypic like shouting at the screen like, don't go in there, or like, you idiot, why did you split up? And like sometimes I literally have like those reactions, and I had that in this movie, even for a character that I didn't know, or I knew that was going to survive, because I knew obviously Maxine was going to be in the third one. There's that crocodile scene.
Yeah.
Where she's, oh man, guys. I think this movie sets up tension really well. What do you guys think?
First, I really enjoy the crocodile scene. Or alligator. It would be an alligator, right? Texas?
I think you're right. I think
but they filmed in New Zealand, so it could. Who knows? I really enjoyed that scene because I didn't know much about this movie, and I was like, oh, maybe it's an alligator that kills everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where they got
that would be fun.
I don't know where they got the title X, but okay. Alligator horror movie. Let's go. But no, it does a good job of that.
Did you guys watch?
What?
Sorry.
What, Lake Placid?
Going. Yeah, just keep on going.
No,
you
have
not.
not.
Sorry, I apologize.
No,
Make us watch it.
Okay.
But no, it does a good job there. When it does the hairy Home Alone thing with the nail. Like it does a good job
Yeah.
of it. Like you know what's coming. It's like no, 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 no. Ah! Like
Oof, yeah.
but no, I think it does a good job of building tension, and I like that more than the blood and guts stuff because I can take or leave that. But if you can build tension well, like that gets me to pay more attention.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, what'd you think of the tension in the movie?
It was done really well.
Yeah.
That alligator scene again was just like with Alan, like that was really good. That was done well. And particularly with anything that had to do with around the house or to deal with the husband
Yeah.
was also done really well. And the camera work was really good because there were a few scenes that were like they were just scenic shots, but they were unsettling. And my prime example is when they pull up in the van and you get just the still shot of the house and the barn, and you
Yeah.
got that open space in between and just the quietness of it. Like it reminded me of my grandfather's farm in Arkansas, and like he lived 5 miles, or not 5 miles, more like 1.5 or 2, down a dirt road off of a paved road down in Arkansas. And even though we had two neighbors that were across the street, he still had like 80 acres of land, and so did they. And even with the homes like in visual line of sight from like his driveway, it was still desolate.
Yeah.
And like if he and there wasn't even like a road sign on the dirt road that was like an actual road. So like there's no help. Like
No.
you are literally in the middle of nowhere and trapped.
Did they name that road like Arno Lane, like after him? Because I know that sometimes you get like naming rights if the road doesn't have a name.
Well, there were three. Well, like I said, there were two other people that lived on that road, so I don't think he got naming rights. But
Ah.
he did have shirts. He did have screened printed T-shirts made up that said Arno Acres on them.
That's incredible.
So, yeah.
Well, you bring up something that I did really like about the movie is some of the scenes in it, some of the shots specifically. The one that stands out for me the most is the opening shot of looking at the farmhouse after the murders and me thinking naively, oh, this is shot in 4:3. And then they zoom in and you realize you're just looking at the barn doors. That was so cool to me. And I turned to Romana when it happened. I went, I didn't realize those were barn doors. I thought it was shot in 4:3. She goes, really? I'm like, I couldn't be the only one that fell for this trick. I thought it was a cool effect.
I was like, okay, so it's gonna be 4:3 like it's in the 70s, and then it wasn't. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I watched this in my basement on my projector, so like the projectors love my projector. It's great. Does not do well with dark.
Oh.
Like the blacks aren't great, so I could tell what was going on. I didn't see a lot of detail, but no, I really like that shot of the camera pushing through the barn and then the barn doors going away.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
I like
cool
that a lot.
scene.
Did you have any other scenes you liked, Ryan, aside from the desolation scene that was really good?
So there was that, and when the main character meets the old woman for the first time,
Oh yeah.
and like her talking about like about her husband and everything, like
Mhm.
that was done very well, in like the on like the creepy spectrum like of it. That was done well, and I know I made a note in here about another one. Oh, okay. Shadow of old lady walking with pitchfork. When the guy gets the pitchfork through, in the eyes, and then it's just him, and the camera's like pointed to the interior of the barn, and then
Yeah.
you just see her silhouette walking, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Like I'm surprised that wasn't the poster for the movie.
Yeah. That's a good shot. Well, it brings us to probably the most important part of any horror movie is the villain. So what did you guys think about the villain? Because like I said, I didn't expect it to be Pearl. and I think that her intentions or her motivation is left purposely a bit vague in this one.
So I knew it was going to be Pearl
Mm-hmm.
because I also didn't. I knew the films were connected. I didn't know how, but as soon as I looked on IMDb and saw Mia Goth playing like Maxine and Pearl, I was like, oh, okay, it's Pearl. Um, so not being able to see exactly what was happening in some of the darker scenes, like I thought every time she killed somebody, she became younger. And by the end of it, it would just be two Mia Goths, and then she would murder Maxine and then go off and be Maxine. Triple X.
That's really interesting. Oh, that's really interesting. I don't know. In some ways, I like that more than what we got, but in some ways, I think what we have is a little more realistic than that. But no, I
Yeah.
almost had what you had too, because a couple of shots, she looks a little bit younger or a little bit more alive.
Yeah. And maybe that's just because she gets a thrill out of killing, and that brings her
Mhm.
back to life. So
It could be. It really could be what it's showing. Ron, what did you think of her as a villain?
I wish they would have explained more of her motivation, just a tiny bit more, or just alluded to it more in the film, because all that's ever mentioned about why she's doing what she's doing is that, like, she says they're not special enough, and then she makes the one statement about, like, you know that I don't like blondes after she like feeds the one to the alligator of the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like she's trying to like connect with someone who reminds her of her when she was younger. And I'm going to assume that that's what the prequel is supposed to be all about, like explaining that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, for me, that kind of falls into the whole like, look, I've got this idea for a great movie, and then someone off to the side is like, hey, let's make it vague in the first one so then we can make more money on a prequel that explains the motive of the killer. Yeah, let's do that. And I'm just like, that's just a negative for me when it comes to like watching this movie, and like that's how I like took that.
Yeah.
But that itself wasn't the one thing I mentioned before that I wasn't a big fan of.
Yeah.
If you want, I can bring that up now, or we
I want to know.
do
Yeah,
it
yeah.
after
Because
you
that
get
was
through
going to be
your
my
list.
next question. No, no.
Okay, so I like, and I feel like these two things go together. And if they don't, by all means, tell me that they don't. But I feel like they do, and I feel like it's not either. I don't know enough about it. So at one point in the movie, the film guy who should know better because of his character. It just for a different thing, he should have known better. What he was getting into.
Oh, yeah.
But he makes the comment about how like I'm gonna film this in like a special way that they're filming things in France, and it'll look high end even though it's low budget and everything. And so like he makes that comment, but yet the 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 stuff that they film from his point of view looks just like generic 70s adult film.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so where is this supposed to like come up? And then randomly in the movie they'll do like like 4 or 5 flashes of like a cut of something else going on during a scene, and the cuts are like an eye blink.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a fan of that.
Okay. Okay.
So, but like I said, I don't know if like that's what that guy was talking about and that's what they incorporated into the movie, because that's the only way that I can see that working is if that was the editing style that he was talking about. Even though it wasn't, and so yeah.
I want to say that it's more like camera angles and light, the use of light that he's using to like make it more cinematic.
Okay.
You know, like the shot of the gas station where they position the camera so that the pump looks like it's the guy's. Anyway,
Yeah.
So like this is I almost have this pet theory that he's a hack, and will not name any names, but I know some people who are not a hack but think they're very much more brilliant with a camera than they absolutely are. And they're like, the stuff I'm shooting has never been shot before like this. And the first suggestion that he gets is pretend the gas pump is his thing, and he goes, "I'll do that." Like that is
Yeah.
no artistic vision. He's just doing what sounds fun.
Yeah. It is. And didn't expect to be called out like that on the show, Devin. Thank you very
no,
much.
no, it wasn't you.
No, I'm assuming it's somebody you met in LA.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
you
very far away from us.
that's a very LA thing to say. So yeah.
Was there anything that you guys found that you just absolutely, I mean, aside from what Ryan just brought up, absolutely did not like about the movie? Anything that you were like, I really wish they would have fleshed this out more. I didn't like these scenes or these guts. For me, sometimes it was some of the viscera was a little bit much, because when it did come, it had a lot more of an impact because you got to know these characters for a while, and some of it was, ugh. The one that got me, I think, was the eye pokey outy scene when afterwards you kind of see the aftermath of the eye pokey outy scene, and like I would have just been fine if he had like 2 red holes in his face, and the rest was up to my imagination. I didn't need to see where the eyeballs landed afterwards. But anything that you guys...
there was
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I feel like a lot of that is a callback to like 70s like gore movies, because I feel like if I'm right, which I could be wrong, in the 70s you had these movies that came out that were like in really, really high end, like the color saturation of the film was like to the high end, and like they used all types of like red colored cough syrup, and like them like they would use like pig intestines on set and like stuff like that. And like I said before, this was a movie that was supposed to have been set in 1979, and it was a horror movie of the likes that would have come out in 1979 for like the type of villain they had. And I would not be surprised if the over goriness of it, especially where the blood is going on the headlight of the van and it's like making everything look red, is a callback to those 70 gore movies that came out.
That. Yeah, I can see that.
But besides what I mentioned, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to that, so
that makes sense. Alan, is there anything you didn't like about the movie?
For a horror movie, I didn't mind it. So there's not much
Okay.
I have to say negatively. I'm not over here trying to figure out what my next pick's going to be because I'm next.
Well, okay, so knowing all of this, Ryan, you know where this series is going. After X, the next movie is Pearl. So what they do now is an exploration of Pearl as a character, and it's set a couple of years prior, not a couple, quite a few years prior, in the same farmhouse, and you follow a younger Pearl and a younger, what is his name, Howard, are for this. I think that, Ryan, I agree with you, where I would have liked more of the motivation in this movie, because sometimes, because they left the motivation so vague, I was kind of left grasping at straws sometimes about why is she doing this? Like, is she killing them because she's mad at them, or that she's envious of them, or that she
and why is the husband helping out so much?
Yeah, right. Well, why is he? And you get
like,
the sense that he's done this before quite a lot. So I know that the sequel of it, Pearl, fills in a lot of those questions. And actually, Ramon and I had a conversation earlier before I recommended X to you guys, and she's like, no, don't have them start with X. Have them start with Pearl, because then what Pearl does in X makes sense. And I need to watch Pearl. I haven't yet, which is really why I didn't make you guys watch it. I don't want to lie to you guys.
Yeah.
But I really wonder what it would be like had we watched this. But with all of that in mind, would you guys want to watch Pearl? Not that I'll do that as my next pick or anything, but is it enough to get you guys to do it?
I'm more intrigued to watch it now that I know that it's free to stream. I almost watched it last night, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch The Bear instead. And that was the right decision.
Yes, it was.
So,
Ryan, would you watch Pearl?
I have mixed feelings on it.
Yeah.
If you have us watch it, I'll watch it.
Okay.
Am I going to voluntarily watch it? More than likely not. And the
Okay.
main reason why is because the only critic that I really listen to about horror movies is my wife.
Uh-huh.
And she stopped watching it out of boredom.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, like, it's another reason why I'm like, if my wife had to turn it off because she was bored with it, it means that the motivation is very basic and
Yeah.
doesn't require a whole film to explain, which meant which means it would have been better off adding a minute and a half of backstory.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the backstory of the movie Pearl is that the director of this movie, Ty West, was kind of waylaid in a hotel room for 2 weeks because he got COVID. And in those 2 weeks, he wrote the entire script of Pearl, sent it to the studio. The studio went, great, we'll make that too, and greenlit this before X was even done filming. So it's either a complete COVID hallucination or this like genius thing that the studio saw. But I mean, based on what we know, I feel like I kind of know what's going to happen in the movie. Like I'm not overly, I don't know, overly like curious, but I'll watch it.
Yeah, I mean, my interpretation, my prediction for
Hmm.
Pearl is that because is that it it ties in a lot to the preacher that
Yeah.
was on television throughout the movie, and it dives into um like like it dives into that type of entertainment.
Hmm.
So it's going to have to do with adult entertainment and a more conservative time and her wanting to be a star like Maxine.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's going to be like she didn't get it. Like she didn't get what she was looking for and she's envious of this young girl that was on the farm. Like that's where I feel like that's going to go. And if that's the case, I wish
You
that
get
they
it.
just would have added, like I wish they would have added just that little bit
Hmm.
into the first movie and just done like X and then Maxine.
Yeah.
But
Well, you reminded me. What did you guys think of the twist at the very end, where the preacher that was on the TV the entire time was Maxine's dad?
Meh.
oh, at the very beginning of the movie, and this is something that I did not know beforehand.
uh,
I this is one of the things that Kristen did not tell me.
mhm.
As soon as he said on the TV, like, it took our daughter to live in sin and all this other stuff,
Yeah,
and
just
I'm like, I was like, that's one of the women have got to be his daughter.
Oh
Like one of
yeah.
the women has got to be his daughter because, like, it was such a weird thing to have on, and
Yeah.
such a like a blatant thing to say that I'm like, okay.
I guess
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I thought I liked it because I've seen too many of these movies that use like the religious framing like that, literally just to like set the mood. And I liked that it actually had a bit of a plot function. I think that was my big thing with it is I was okay, great. It was more than just background noise, or it's more than just setting up the type of people that the two old people are.
Well, if this was a more complex movie,
Mm,
then I would have thought the same thing. But this film is very contained. It's almost claustrophobic in its narrative with the characters.
yeah.
That almost everything that's brought up in this movie comes back again at some point to explain later on.
Hmm.
So it doesn't really have a lot of that. Just we're just going to put this in the background for world building. We'll never come back to this. And this movie is one of those where it's like almost every single thing they show is there for a reason.
Yeah. I mean,
So
you're right to the point where every character's death is foreshadowed in the movie. Like
mhm.
And you're right. Everything is very, very purposeful in it, which makes it nice. I kind of like a tight little horror movie like this sometimes.
Yeah.
But really, that's all I have on X. Do you guys have anything else?
Not really.
No.
I got nothing.
Ryan?
I thought the name on the side of the van was funny.
I did
Plowing
too.
service.
Yeah,
and you have
I
a
thought
bunch
that
of
was
porn
funny.
stars inside the van.
What? What did it say?
I thought that was funny. Plowing service.
Oh. Yeah. I get it.
Oh, so good. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah. I still don't know what my pick is going to be for next week. I've got it.
Mystery. I can't wait.
I've got a few ideas, but none of them I've seen. And I don't know if I don't want to cheat the format of the show. Because one features somebody who's in a movie that comes out next week. The other one is what the movie that comes out next week's original one was based off of. So, so I'll leave it up to you guys. Do you guys want a Martin Scorsese film or a movie starring a pop star turned actress?
Ooh. I'm thinking pop star.
A Jennifer Lopez movie?
No, not Jennifer Lopez.
Okay.
We've done Jersey
So
Girl. That's the only Jennifer Lopez movie I'll make you watch is Jersey Girl.
It's not going to be Geely.
No.
I would do pop star turned.
A Walk to Remember.
Everyone forgets Mandy Moore was a pop star. She's the mom from This Is Us now. Like that's all she's known for.
Oh, yeah, she is.
All right, then next week we're going to be talking about in honor of Joker 2, Joker Folie Deux. We're going to be talking about A Star Was Born, starring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga.
Oh, no way.
So, Devon, you want to do a duet of Shallow with me next week on the show?
Yes. Can I be Lady Gaga?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect.
We'll just go full Jason Sudeikis and Will Forte. So, all right. So join us next week for Stars Born. You can watch us on You Have to Watch This podcast live here on YouTube every week. Next week might be the last show for a minute because I'll be traveling a lot, and I don't know if Devin and Ryan are going to go on without me. We'll talk about that after the show. You can listen to You Have to Watch This podcast on all major podcasting platforms. We're behind again on the uploading of the shows, but I'm going to get caught up here this weekend, hopefully, or at least get that started. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Yeah, and until next time, for You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And we will see you next week.
Bye.